I just got a great haul of comic books from someone I found selling their collection online. Now, the seller had priced most of their books at just $1, so of course I had to buy over 50 of them. And today I'm going to show you my 10 favorite that I picked up. Plus, I did pick up a few other keys that he had priced at more than $1, and I'm going to show you my favorite one of those that I'm super excited to have for a couple of reasons. So make sure you stay until the end and see what that big key is. But first, let's take a look at those 10 $1 books, and we'll get started with this one, Amazing Spider-Man number 162, which contains the first appearance of Jigsaw, who's of course Punisher's arch nemesis. Now, if you've been watching my channel, you know that I'm a huge fan of the Punisher, and so I'm super excited to get the first appearance of his main bad guy. Plus, of course, I'm always excited to get a copy of any Amazing Spider-Man issue, which brings me to the second book, and that's Amazing Spider-Man number 172, which contains the first appearance of the Rocket Racer. Next up, we have X-Force number 116, which contains the first appearance of the Ecstatics team, and that means it also has the first appearance, and I can't even remember all these characters, so I gotta read it off, of Coach, of Anarchus, of Battering Ram, of Gengini, of Lanuit, of Plasm, of Sluck, of Zeitgeist, of You-Go Girl, and Dupe. Now, again, if you've been watching my channel, you know that I love picking up books like this that contain the first appearance of multiple characters. First of all, just because I love first appearances, and so to have so many in one book is awesome. But secondly, I think these are really great books to speculate on because if any of these characters show up in a TV show or a movie, then this book, of course, is going to go up in value. And obviously, the more characters you have, the higher the probability that someone is going to eventually show up. Now, if I were a betting man, I would say that Dupe will be the first person to make an appearance somewhere, just because he's such an interesting character, and you could easily throw him in as comic relief or other things too, because he's, again, just a very interesting character. But I'm curious what you think. Tell me in the comments below which of these characters that you think would first show up in a movie or a TV show. And next we have Wolverine and the X-Men number 1, which is awesome for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's a number 1 issue for Wolverine, and I'm a huge Wolverine fan, and so like it for that reason. But it also contains the first appearance of Kid Gladiator. And speaking of first appearances in this run, next up we have Wolverine and the X-Men number 19, which contains the first appearance of Iboy, who is a character that I probably love more than most. I think he is an awesome character, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with him in comics. So if you don't know that character, he's a mutant and he has 57 eyes all over his body. And the first time I saw him, I thought, oh, he's just kind of a strange character and it's just supposed to be visually interesting, but kind of lame. And I'm really curious to read this because I don't know a lot about his earlier appearances, but I think his power set has probably grown over time. I think at first they probably did intend this guy to be just kind of this weird character, but then some writers started thinking, hey, this guy's got 57 eyes. We can develop 57 powers. And so he has kind of the normal powers that you would think of with special eyes. You know, he's got X-ray vision and telescopic vision and microscopic vision. And again, I don't know how early on they started introducing some other like really interesting ones. So now he has an eye that can basically read people's body language. And so he can kind of tell when they're going to attack, or he can know when somebody's upset and needs to be empathetic to them. He also has an eye that lets him see people's auras. Doctor Strange has given him a special magic like contact lens that lets him see magic. He can see through illusions. Because of his great eyesight, he's an expert marksman. And so they can just continue to build on this character a lot. And so I'm really excited to see what writers come up with him, because he's just one that you can be really creative with. And so I think that's a lot of fun. Staying with the X-Men, now we have X-Men Annual number 13. And this is the first cover appearance of Jubilee. And of course, it's just a little small one down at the bottom. But yeah, you take what you can get. Now, before I show off the next book, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, I'd ask you to please consider doing so right now. And then we have Secret Wars number 2. And this is a book that I highlighted in a video a few months ago when I was doing Dr. Doom keys for under $5. And this is the first appearance of God Emperor Doom. And I would love to see him in the Secret Wars movies that's coming up. Who knows if that will happen, but regardless, it's still a cool book, especially for any Doom fan like myself to add to their collection. Now we have Avengers Spotlight number 31, and this is the first solo story of the U.S. Agent. And I've always had a soft spot in my heart for the U.S. Agent. He's kind of portrayed as a bully in the comics a lot, especially in his earlier appearances. And even though I got bullied a lot as a kid, as I got older, I started having a lot of empathy for bullies because I realized that most of them come from bad home situations or have been hurt in other ways and are just lashing out because of that. And so when I look at characters like the U.S. Agent, I just feel like he needs a hug. And we just gave bullies hugs, and maybe they would be a little kinder. Yeah, that's obviously an oversimplification, but I have always liked this character, and so it's a book that I've been looking for. And this is one that you can find in dollar bins pretty easy. But when this character finally gets some actual screen time in the upcoming Thunderbolts movie, then maybe it becomes a little more valuable. So now might be the time to get it if you like this character as much as I do. Now we have Speedball number 1, which is the first solo series for Speedball. I've mentioned this in a past video when I got his very first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man Annual, I think it's 22, that I think this is a very underrated character who has a really interesting story arc because he starts off as this goofy character, but then goes through the Stanford incident where he is the only survivor of this explosion that kills not only the rest of his teammates, but a bunch of kids. And so he feels a lot of guilt over that, and then transforms into this kind of dark character known as Penance. So really interesting character, and I hope that we see him in a TV show or a movie one day. And this is another book that you can pretty easily find for $1. And so it can be a cheap book to speculate on that is still cool to just add to your collection even if nothing happens with this character. And for our last dollar book, we have Excalibur number 71. And this is just a book that has some personal significance for me because it's one of 6 parts of what was a Fatal Attraction storyline. And this ran through all the X titles in like the early 90s. And each of these books had this cool hologram on it. And as a kid, I got the other 5, but I never picked up this one because I just never got Excalibur books. And so it's one that I've just always wanted and knew I would probably be able to find it for $1 at some point. So I haven't been in a rush to get it, but am super happy now to finally complete my childhood set. Well, that brings us to the comic that I wanted to show you that I got for more than $1, and it's a key that I'm super excited about getting for a couple of reasons, and that's this one, Uncanny X-Men number 133, which is the first solo cover and solo story of Wolverine. And as you know, I'm a huge Wolverine fan, and so I'm trying to collect obviously all of his keys, and this is probably the biggest of the ones that I didn't already have. I've got his first appearance, his first solo series, but this is one that I've been hunting for and trying to find at a good price. And I'm super excited because I've heard this is kind of the story where he first really shows his berserker rage, and it's the first book where it's confirmed that he has a healing factor. And so just a super important book for any Wolverine fan. And I'm really excited to add it to my collection for that reason. But secondly, what is super cool about this book is that when I got it, I opened it up, was just kind of skimming through it, and I found out that unexpectedly, it was a Mark Jewelers version. Now, if you don't know what a Mark Jewelers book is, maybe I'll do a video on this sometime, but basically, people in the Army would get comics shipped to them, and they would be these special editions, and they would have a Mark Jewelers insert. And so many collectors consider them to be a variant of the regular edition, and because they're so rare, they have a little bit of a premium when it comes to their value. And so I didn't know if this was a Mark Jewelers edition when I bought it, and so that was quite an exciting surprise when I opened it up. especially when it comes to an awesome Wolverine key that I've been wanting to add to my collection for a long time. Now, before I leave, why don't you tell me in the comments, other than the Wolverine issue, which I'm sure we can all agree was the greatest out of the bunch, what was your favorite issue that I picked up? Of course, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate if you consider doing so. Like, comment, all those good things. Thanks for watching, and as always, I look forward to seeing you in the next one.